All right, good morning. Here we are on episode number 7 of Big Conversations in a Little Campervan. Today I'm joined by the one and only YOLO Farmer, Mr. Wayne Langford. Good morning, Mr. Langford.
Jono, how's things?
Good, man. Bit fresh this morning down in Kakanui, North Otago.
It looks like that, by the way, that jug's steaming in behind you there.
Oh, that's an incense stick, but look, I've got my heater here. It's warm. Wayne, can you please introduce yourself for the people joining us today?
Oh, sure, yeah. I'm a dairy farmer from up in Golden Bay. My wife and 3 boys here. We farm 250 cows. Normally milking once a day all season. Yeah, kind of born and bred in Golden Bay, and headed to Lincoln to meet a wife, and did that, and came home and yeah, kind of grown up here since then. So that's me.
Is that why people go to Lincoln?
Oh, it's a pretty good idea to get a different bloodline, I reckon.
I thought it was just to drink beer, Wayne.
Yeah. So somehow I got through Lincoln without drinking anything. Can you believe that? So
wow.
Can you imagine the dollars I saved there? Yeah.
Yeah. Holy moly, man. So how long have you been farming for up in Golden Bay?
Yeah, so we grew up on a family farm. The Langfords have been here for six or 7 generations now. So we're kind of an established family up here. Yeah, and I like I say, I went to Lincoln and then came home, and we brought a property as a family, kind of over and above what I grew up on, and I went on to that. And then pretty much every 2 years after that, we were moving house. We were the family gypsies, and we were either leasing or buying another property and kind of growing our family business. So I really enjoyed that. Actually, taught me a lot about getting on and getting onto a farm and changing things around and learning a lot of different systems. So and saying that, I wish I could go back now with the knowledge I have now and go back to the first farm that I went to and whatnot. You always do, but it's been a good learning exercise, and I've kind of enjoyed the journey. Yeah,
I can relate to that, man. The old, if I knew then what I know now, man, would I have done things differently?
Yes, it almost makes you feel bad for preaching, about how, or talking about, what you were doing when you were younger, but to be fair, that's life. We all made mistakes when we were young and whatnot. And we had some doozies, and so yeah. So we're better for it now.
Yeah, and really, we wouldn't have it any other way, would we?
No, not at all. Yeah.
So Wayne, tell me, you and I have not known each other that long, and we've had a few cool chats. Tell me about the YOLO movement.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a few years ago, it was just over 3 years ago now. I got myself into a pretty kind of dark place as such, mental health wise. Wasn't too flash. I probably don't need to go into it too much, but just in terms of what it looked like, and for others to kind of recognise it. Just stop making day-to-day decisions on farm decisions. Were really challenging. Spending a lot of time in bed, not overly happy, not socialising with people. I still had a role. I had a national role with Federated Farmers, and I had a couple of governance roles within the community. So that for me actually helped mask what I was going through really well, because I could always get myself up to go to these events and things and meetings, and then come home and crash at home. So when I guess came out about it, it was actually, I guess, a bit of a surprise for some people, because they'd known me in these other roles as well, and but what they didn't know, I guess, was what was going on behind the scenes, and yeah, how much, I guess, some hard some of those days were at home, and yeah, so we went through that. But on my 34th birthday, I found myself kind of stuck in bed again. Sunday afternoon, and like I say, it was the birthday. We should have been having a party with the kids and blah blah blah. And I remember almost looking down on myself, thinking, "What the hell are you doing here? What's going on?" that day, for whatever reason, and I still don't know why, I jumped out of bed and grabbed the kids and my wife, and we headed off to the beach, and had a great afternoon at the beach. And I guess something in there, you know, I saw just enough of a light or hope or whatever you want to call it to say. And I said to the kids, said, hey, we're going to do something every day for 365 days to say that we've lived for that day. And one of the kids in the back just happened to yell out YOLO, and that's kind of how it stuck from there. So I started posting on Facebook, just on our personal page, just YOLO Day 1, YOLO Day 2, that sort of thing. And it's just grown from there, really. We after we got to 365 and my wife wanted her Facebook page back, we created its own one for the YOLO Farmer, and that kind of took it from being a personal journey to more of a public journey. And well, you know, I've been overwhelmed with the kind of the response and the amount of people reaching out and the support and the following and whatnot that's got. So that's been really humbling and really cool. We're at day 1130 now, I think. So yeah, like I say, just gone 3 years, and wouldn't change it for the world, really. It's just opened my eyes. I think, you know, I guess it's just given me the ability to see more things and open my eyes to the world a bit more. And it's not to say other people need to do it the same way I did it, because some people are actually living a really fulfilled life and are already seeing those opportunities. So that's awesome for them. But for the people that are struggling or having a bit of difficulty and can't quite make sense of the world, it's I guess what it taught me was to put myself in so many difficult and vulnerable kind of situations, and train myself to work my way out of them, or to deal with them, or to, you know, to interact with the people that are in those situations. And quite often you'll find that those people are just as nervous or as shy or worried as you are, you know, and we're all human. And yeah, I guess that's kind of been one of the biggest findings. Well, it's definitely the connection with people has been one of the biggest things I've taken out of the journey itself. So yeah, so that's a bit of a snapshot. Rough ride of 3 years all in a few minutes. Yeah.
I like it, man. And look, it's something that comes up in discussions with people that I converse with often around, you know, it really is the case that everybody is just scared of each other. You know, people are scared of other people judging them. People are scared of what other people think. But what I've realized is that actually everybody else is just as scared of you as you are of them. And like what I often say is, if you don't believe me when I say that, next time you're in town, do me a favor, look for a large mob of people and just walk straight towards them and watch them all. You know, every time they all just go round. You know, everyone is just as scared of each other as you are of them. And once you break through that invisible shield of defense or keeping yourself safe, it's like a little triumph in itself. And because I've been in a situation like you, except I didn't sleep. I just well, I guess I did sleep to an extent, but I have been in a place of a bit of cloud, a bit of darkness, and I would work all day to mask it, and that was just like a deterrent, like to sort of I felt important, I was doing stuff, blah blah blah, and so that was sort of just putting the it aside, and then I'd come home and the it would come back, and I'd be like, oh. And that's when I started smoking marijuana to try and numb all that away. And that's what I did for like 6 years. And then when I realized that doing things like you say, moments of discomfort or vulnerability, is all those little moments just stepping through that invisible shield is like a triumph in itself. And so it's like, it just gives you that little burst, you know, that little, and I'll never forget, like I was literally at the doctor's talking to the doctor about, because my then wife was saying to me, you know, you need to get some help here. Like I was not in a good way. And he had the prescription written out for me for some antidepressant medication. And I thought, right, I'll go and take this in. And I'd handed it into the counter to the pharmacy who was across the road in Leaston. They said it'd be 10 minutes. I went home and hung the washing out, and something just hit me a bit like what must have hit you in bed that morning. where it was like, no, I don't need to do that. I'm not going to do that. And I just got into action. My kids were right there. I just gelled with the kids, pushed through that discomfort. And thankfully I was able to push through without any, pharmaceutical medication.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's right. And I actually didn't go down that approach as well, and it was probably for my sake, a bit of a fear what that meant. I was scared that if I went to the doctor, they'd lock me up in a straitjacket and take me away type thing. And that's definitely not the case at all. I've got no problems with kind of people using medication and whatnot, and I've heard some great success stories out of it. It was just that. That's not where I wanted to go at that time, and I looked for something else, and for me that what I did worked. I realised it doesn't work for others, so yeah, you're right. It's just looking for that little zing every day, and people often ask about some of my YOLO things and challenges and how I organise them and whatnot, and I say. Yes, we can organise some bigger events and things we're going to and that sort of thing, but quite often it's just focusing on that zing. And if you look for it, there is a zing in every day, or if you look to create it, you can have it. And so with my role with Feds and other things I do around the country, I get to travel a bit, and like it'll be easier to say, oh, hey, I went to Wellington today, or blah blah blah. That's not a zing, that's work. The zing is coming back over the Taka Hill at 7:30 at night, and the sun's setting, and that sort of thing, and just that feeling of coming home, or and if you can, I guess if you can train your body to feel those things again, because that's what it's trying to stop you from doing, I guess, and that's what I've really enjoyed about the journey. Yeah.
Something for me, man, and for sure, I love a good sunset. Like, man, last night I was driving home, it was just like northwest arch, red sky. It was just like, holy moly. But most of the time when everyone's in that sort of narrow-minded, busy, we just don't see that stuff.
Yeah.
But,
well, the problem with the narrow-mindedness is that you think you're in control, and you think that you're controlling the world. But as soon as you open your eyes up, and you look at the sunsets, and you look at the seeds flying past from the thistles and the whatever, you realize that we've got no control over this. We're just enjoying the ride, and when you sit back and enjoy the ride, it's a hell of a lot more enjoyable than trying to control the ride. If you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's where it comes to, I think. Yeah.
And oh man, I love your talking on letting go of control. I'm actually just reading a book right now called. It's called, what is it called? My mind has gone blank. It's called The Surrender Experiment. And it's about this dude who just lets go of his desire to do things that he likes or dislikes and just go with the flow of life, taking every opportunity. And the guy ends up, I'm not finished yet, but it's a really cool book, and it's really timely that you should mention that. But something else I also just wanted to point out in my own journey of overcoming that fear and overcoming that anxiety is what I noticed things for me that gave me a real uplifting experience. And it's the same as what I'm reading in this book is that feeling of service, but also, like doing stuff for others beyond yourself. And like you would have noticed that with the YOLO experiment, but also for me, it's about like little conversations with people. Like for instance, if I'm being, say someone served, like, sometimes you get served, like you're at like a restaurant or something, and someone really gives you fantastic service, and like it stands out, smiling, really friendly. I started acknowledging those people, like really heartfelt, not like, oh, thanks, you're doing a great job, but like, look, I really appreciate the over and above service that you've given me tonight, and it's giving me, it's really made an experience for me, and I'll be coming back. And you want to see these people's faces. They're just like, once they get over the shock, because sadly they're not used to hearing that. But then what I noticed for myself is I just started doing that all the time. Little things like, oh my goodness, I love your shirt. Randoms in the street. Oh my goodness, that is a gorgeous smile. And people were just like, and then I just sort of felt like you can just one little phrase, you can like literally pick someone up. And then what I noticed, every now and then something would come back to me, like someone would say something and I'd be like, oh.
Yeah, I know, and we're probably going off on a bit of a tangent here, but something guys don't do to ladies enough is say, you look great today. Not in a I'm hitting on you kind of way, but just do you know how much time ladies put into their appearance and their shoes that they wear or whatnot quite often, and so that's something I've tried to do. Is common, and it's actually it's quite hard for a guy to do. Without coming across sleazy and whatnot, and so I've enjoyed that sort of thing because it does. It opens up. You immediately go to a raw and vulnerable side of that person because they're doing that to put themselves out there. They brought that pair of shoes because they really like them, and that's a part of them. And so if you comment on them, you're instantly creating a connection with them, and that's really cool. No, I like what you're saying there. Yeah.
And it can literally change, like not just change someone's day, but like literally shift their directions because, like in life, because like the feeling of uplifting, it's like the difference between like a disempowered context and an empowered context. So disempowered context, you're just sort of at the mercy of life. You're just you've got the cloud. I always call it the cloud, the anxiety, the yucky. And in that, you're not really active. And it took me 28 years to realize that. And then I discovered this thing called context. Then I discovered this thing called an empowered context, which is when, you're like feeling appreciated, you're feeling, really in action and productive. And that leads on to things like you wouldn't believe. So literally a little comment like that can lead to action from another person that might just change the world. Like you really have no idea what's possible.
Yeah.
And just so you know, Wayne, there is no such thing as a tangent on this show.
Yeah. when we were at day 100, my wife and I were headed to the States, and because it's we'd planned this trip overseas for like 10 years and we'd never done it, and there was always the farm come first, and there was always a reason on the farm why we couldn't, and blah blah blah. Anyway, because of YOLO, we just did it, and ended up we went to visit an old girlfriend that I had there because I'd been on a student exchange when I was 16, and went to visit her and told her kind of about what we were going through and what we were doing. And she said, oh, Wayne, one of the things you always used to do was give, like so much. And I, it kind of hit me a bit and stuck with me. And we realized just how true that was and how much I'd stopped doing that, and so as a focus of YOLO, it was definitely about giving more and giving more of myself than taking in, but it didn't take long, and you can probably you're probably aware of this too, that you start giving a little and you get tenfold coming back, and that may not be in that's not and gifts and that sort of thing. That's just it just comes back, and so that's been a major part, kind of, I guess, of highlighting who I am is that I have to give, and then so it's kind of ironic that now we've launched this nationally based charity, and that's kind of the foundation of who I am. So I'm really enjoying that side of it, but that's kind of where I got to there. So yeah.
And everything in life really is a currency, like in soil biology, nothing's free, and it's the same, for us in life is that, we cannot receive without giving, and so for me, and you said it perfectly, Wayne. Like you don't always get things back in the same way that you gave, but it comes back in totally different ways, and sometimes more, meaningful and impactful than you could have ever expected, and I'm really glad you touched on that, because it's the moment you stop giving that things just stop happening, like it's like a spoke gets taken off the wheel, and then all of a sudden you lose these. It's really interesting that you should bring that up.
And you're right if you talk about it as a currency, because if you give it out and you expect something directly in return, then it's not really kind of happening. But if you put it out there, and then as my YOLO journey's kind of taught me that it may take 2 weeks, it may take 2 years, something will come back, and it just comes back. And what's cool about that is that it comes back on a day when quite often you really need it, or you know, like you'll be doing whatever you're doing, then all of a sudden someone will reach out and say, "Oh, hey, I was doing this and I thought of you." Holy shit, there's life again, you know? Like
Life.
So that's really cool. Yeah.
So Wayne, tell us a bit more about the new charity you've set up. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, right. So on day 546, one of my YOLO challenges, we'd had a couple of heifers on the farm that had we had one break its leg and another one I couldn't send to the works. So long story short, we got some home kill done, and I took a couple of big bags of mince into the local food bank. And I remember when I was there, I said to the lady, I said, "Oh, how long will this last you?" Thinking she'd say a couple of days, or a week maybe, and she said, "Oh no, that'll last us a couple of months." And I was like, "Well, wow." I was like, I said, "So if I give you a kind of a whole beast or an animal, then it'll, that'll last you a whole year." And I teased that out a bit more and thought, well, you know, we've got 100 farms in Golden Bay. If we each donate one, and if I donate one in my lifetime, then really, and everyone does too, then no one in Golden Bay should ever go hungry again. And the next morning when I was milking, the idea kind of grew from there. Well, what would it take to feed Nelson, and what would it take to feed Christchurch, and what would it take to feed the South Island and then New Zealand? And the idea kind of grew from there. Originally we thought, we can get a whole bunch of home local butchers and do a home kill and get the young farmers club to bag them up and that sort of thing. But we eventually kind of realised the scale that we were working with. You know, we'd get up in excess of 250 tonne a year type thing, and we needed to create a structure in which to do that. And so we approached, it didn't approach. They came to us again because I was giving and I was speaking at the BOMA conference last year in Christchurch. And there was a couple of meat companies that were there, and they heard me talk of this just slightly, as I just teased it out there slightly, and they heard me talk of it, jumped on it, came to me and said, "Oh, hey, we'd really love to help you with this." And boom, there was that connection. And away I went from there. It took some time. It's taken us well over a year to get it going. I partnered up with Siobhan O'Malley, who's living on a hop farm in the Motueka Valley here. She's a former share milker of the year. For some reason, we always put all these accolades and whatnot on people. Really, she's just a beautiful person, and she's incredibly detailed and good at what she does. So that's her true skills, if anyone's wanting to know. And anyway, she's the detail to my big picture, and so we both work together to get this done, get the funding, get the all the packaging and the food safety and blah blah blah. And so last Sunday, I don't know what it was, of April, we launched, and man, have we been overwhelmed with the response from farmers. You know, just wanting to give, just wanting to help out. It's a mechanism for farmers that have always wanted to do something but haven't. We've got so much going on in our lives nowadays. It just needs to be easy, and so we've tried to create an easy mechanism for farmers to do it. You send your animal off, it gets processed with all the others, but the mince gets given to meet the need, and we can distribute it out through the city missions and food banks throughout New Zealand. So it's been a bit of a journey, but we've got there now. And we had our first lot of mince dropped off in Christchurch yesterday. And when you see one ton of mince come off a truck, that means that city mission doesn't have to go looking for kind of meat for an entire month. I think the farmers should be pretty proud of that. That's our catchphrase is New Zealand farmers feeding New Zealand families, and that's hopefully what we're going to achieve. Yeah.
Holy moly, man! I just found myself sitting back there, quite moved. Like I've got goosebumps right now, not because it's cold.
Yeah. Oh,
and so, this is just a great demonstration of just one person stepping out of their bubble, you know, wanting to make a difference, stepping through that discomfort, giving. And the mention of the Bowmar conference is just golden, you know, like just through a conversation, these people come and approach you, and next minute you've got this nationwide campaign going. So I just want to acknowledge you, Wayne. Like, thank you so much for, you know, on behalf of all the families of New Zealand, thank you so much for stepping out of that comfort zone and doing something with that opportunity.
Oh, no, cheers, Jono. But, you know, I guess I'm being the humble Kiwi, but, you know, it is really going to take, you know, it's New Zealand farmers. It's not actually New Zealand farmers. I think it's an entire country kind of, I'm actually, I can't hide behind the fact that we're actually trying to change the culture of what we're doing. So if we give, for example, if we were to give an animal every year off our balance sheet, it would make absolutely no difference. You know, the average size dairy farm, you know, to add an extra 0.5 to your death rate type thing is absolutely nothing. So, yeah. But on the other hand, if we would all do it, and then all the processors would have chuck in, you know, 0.05 of what they were doing, and the freight companies did the same, we would have no one go hungry in New Zealand, and that would be an awesome story to tell. And it's by giving so little. And so yeah, so it's all about changing that ethos and what we're doing. It's not all about profit and the bottom line. It's you know, it's about being good people and being a good country and going from there. And I guess that's what we're really trying to change, I guess, in behind the scenes. And this is just a mechanism to start that conversation. Yeah.
Holy moly! And so, you know, this is the start of something big. It's already quite big. Is there anything else on the horizon within, you know, Meet the Need, or within what you're doing personally? You know, what could be next for you? What's on the notebook?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. Good question. Yeah. So, no, that is. I don't know where to go with that.
And you don't have to say that there might not be anything.
No. Well, yeah. To be fair, we're kind of just riding this wave at the moment. Yep. So, we've got some other things that we're touching, and I'll talk to you about in a minute. I guess around what we're doing on farm, and so that's pretty cool. And then I've got a role with Federated Farmers, which is about to grow as well. And I'm looking forward to the challenge that brings, because you know, you can probably tell by my conversation already, I probably bring a slightly different approach to things and a view on things, and it'll be interesting to see how that fits in, you know, in the political scene in Wellington and whatnot. So no, looking forward to that challenge. Yeah.
So glad we've got your voice in there, man.
Oh, we'll see. Yeah. I've been watching a lot of Donald Trump videos and just seeing how I can, you know. Yeah,
oh no. Yeah. Let's make New Zealand great again.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about your farm, man, because I know a wee bit. Tell us a bit about what you're doing on farm.
Yeah. So so when we brought our farm, we went once a day milking right from the start. We thought, hey, we were on a system 4 or 5 high input system before then farm, and we had our profit targets, and I'm pretty good with the numbers and whatnot, so we knew what we were achieving there. When we brought our farm, we said, hey, can we achieve this milking once a day? And if we can, why the hell would we not do it? You know, because it's a hell of a lot simpler than the high stressful system 4 or 5. So got nothing against the system 4 or 5. It's actually really fun. I loved, I guess, pushing the cows to the limit. You know, they were elite athletes. I love that, you know, trying to get as much as we could every day. But on the other hand, our focus was on something different, and that was trying to achieve the same financial result while also creating a bit more lifestyle for ourselves and our family, and valuing a few more of those things as well. So we went once a day. We also, I guess, because we'd brought the farm, and I'd already been farming for 12 years by then, had a few ideas about what I wanted to do. So we just went with the old clean slate budget, you know, just wipe the budget off and just add things on as we went. was a few things that I'd never really been comfortable with in terms of, like high nitrogen use and animal health issues and whatnot. Thankfully, I'm young enough but old enough to remember, my father's kind of farming style where it was less intensive, before the early 2000s when the nitrogen came heavily into the farming systems and whatnot. And I knew the results that he kind of got off there, which I had gone away from. When I was at Lincoln, we were taught to use nitrogen, and to follow the cows around and all this sort of thing, and grow grass that way. But it just didn't. It didn't make sense to me when I compared my father's figures to the figures I was doing now, and there was no difference, and our animal health was worse, and we'd created a whole lot more problems for ourselves effectively. So this is a long way to get around to it. But yeah, we just we looked at what we could change on our farm. We went to we started just looking at using less nitrogen and less kind of fertilizer in general, I guess, if we could, or less applications. And then, from there, I kind of look. We have a dolomite mine, half an hour from our house, and so those guys are always pushing the calcium magnesium theory and whatnot, and we got teased into that a little bit. I just happened to kind of do it, and it's really worked for us. We don't have any kind of milk fever, or we don't bother dusting our paddocks with magnesium and this sort of thing. It was just such a massive shift from what we'd done before, where you're always out there dusting every paddock in front of your colostrum cows or your calving cows, and you spend 3 months of the year, with a duster on behind the paddock, or putting things into the water, and I was like, there must be a simpler or better way than this. So we just stumbled across it, I guess, and we've kind of just gone down that track ever since. We haven't. I wouldn't say that I'm we haven't really driven that side of our business, but we have had a focus on just keeping it simple, and that style of farming is simpler than the other style in my view. So that's where it's come from. As part of the YOLO journey, every week I used to look in the paper and say, oh, hey, what could I do this week that's a bit challenging or a bit different, and blah, blah, blah. And as part of that, we had the sustainable hui on in Golden Bay. Now, anyone that's been to Golden Bay will know that it's quite a green alternative kind of community. It's kind of 50% hippies and 50% kind of farmers and whatnot. And we actually did a production when we were at school of Romeo and Juliet, and I remember because Juliet was the hippies and Romeo was the farmers, and there's the clash of the two families, and anyway, it's getting off topic, but went to this sustainable hui, and just again through the connection process, sat down for lunch, got talking to a lady there who was an ex-corporate kind of lady that had come to Golden Bay to live the good life. She worked a lot of years for Fonterra and understood kind of, I guess, the business behind farming, not necessarily farming itself, and had a strong interest in the greener side and organics and this sort of thing. So, so I searched this idea. I said, oh, hey, we've just brought our farm. We want to go on this environmental journey, and I really want to take the community with me. I want to set up an environmental panel over top of my farm, and I want them. We've got a lot of experience or a lot of ideas within our community. And some of them are a bit out there and crazy, but hey, I've got a few of those crazy ideas and out there things myself. So why don't we all get together and see how we can run our farm more sustainably, tease a few of these ideas out there. Some of them are going to work, some of them are not. That's cool. And we'll go from there. And so we put an ad in the local paper, and we said, hey, come and help us run our farm. We had numerous, 15 or 20 responses. There was a few of the standard, just go vegan and that sort of thing, which was actually cool. I embraced it. I said, hey, I'm happy to plant all my flats and oats and create oat milk. You just provide me with a business model in which I can do it, and we'll have a look to see if it kind of stacks up. That sort of thing. It wasn't that I was anti it at all, but unfortunately, some of those people were more on a campaign of veganism than they were on the project itself. So, so what was really interesting about the project, and I remember, we still have people joining our panel all the time, and the first meeting they always get there and they say, I'm blah, blah, blah. And I don't think I've got anything to add to this group, or I've got no knowledge of farming, but yet they always add something. They know about trees, or they know about just anything, soils. They've been studying soils, or they know even about recycling and plastics and all this sort of stuff, and just the different areas. They'll have a connection. For example, we started a trap line for pests on our farm, and they'll know a connection there to get the traps, or we're going to bring some kids on the farm that have having a bit of trouble at school, and whatnot, and just need to kind of get out and exercise their minds a bit more, and they're going to come and walk the trap line and stuff, and so just those weird little connections, and by providing our farmers a platform and being really open and transparent about what we're doing on farm. Right down to, hey, this is how much debt we've got. This is how much we need to survive. I've got no problem sharing those figures, because we share them every month at a Dairy NZ discussion group. Effectively, it's not a massive issue, and it's it's just been an overwhelming response into what we're doing and how we're doing it, and I guess going from there, yeah. So, where do I go with that? So I guess what's interesting is we've had the farmers looking over the fence saying, "Oh, Wayne, what the hell are you doing with all those? what the hell are you doing with all those greenies on your farm and whatnot?" And saying, "Oh, it's a load of rubbish, blah blah blah." But then the very next question is, is any of it working? No, like what am I missing out on, type thing. So so that's cool. But yeah, no, we've managed to do quite a lot of plantings and whatnot on the farm. We, as you'll know, just this year we've put in a seed mix, which you've helped me with, and done 10 hectares there of the farm, and so we're really excited to see where that goes. There's a team working on alternative buttercup trials about how we can get rid of giant buttercup here. One cool little project, and it's kind of, it's not about the whole farm itself, but we created last autumn. We got a whole lot of rootstock, and we went around different farming families from around the community, and we grafted off a whole lot of the old heritage fruit trees and that sort of thing. And so we've almost got a memorial garden of the fruit trees of the farms of Golden Bay, and put that in place, and it's like it's got nothing really to do with the farm, but it's got everything to do with the farm, if you know what I mean. It's almost like the heart and the core of the farm, And what we want there is the people to say, not only, hey, come and give us a hand on the farm with this, but when you're done, hey, take home a bucket full of plums or apples or whatever, and because, and again, we've got, I've got 125 hectares, I've got 93 hectares effective. So if you look at even that disparity, I've got a number of hectares where I can, plant a few odd apple trees or do this and do that, and that's all that we really need to do. So, yeah, I don't know. That's a long story to get to where we are now, I guess. But it's been a really interesting project. It's great to have Debbie. She's really driving it, I guess, from the. She facilitates the meetings for us, so and drives it, I guess. I don't want to say from the greener side, but just she does come from the green community as such, and so that's great, and we can just really just provide our farmers a platform for them to learn and grow on. And what's been cool is as a farmer, I guess as a farming leader, I'm the Golden Bay Fed's president and whatnot. I can speak till I am blue in the face about about water and about nitrogen and blah, blah, blah. And then no one can, from the green community, can hear what I'm saying. But if I get 12 members of this group to speak about water and nitrogen, from what they've learned on our farm, everyone can hear what they're saying, like it's a different language, and that's been one of the most rewarding aspects of the project, for sure.
And I think, Wayne, in any sense, the term governance, I think for me, like we've seen the power of, one person being at the helm, so to speak, of leading a direction of any entity, whether it be a group or a charity or what have you, but to bring in like a steering committee with a diverse background of perspectives and experience and knowledge, I mean, that's real power. Like you cannot expect to achieve something with one person leading than you can with a group of people leading. Like and sometimes you end off in different directions you never thought you would ever end up. And I noticed that with Quorum Sense, the moment I let go of the helm of that thing and got a group of people in the form of a board of trustees around, now that thing's, it's got a whole nother trajectory. And it's just, there's something about, and I'm sure you can relate, like just sitting back and watching the magic unfold.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's, like in terms of a farm sense, and you see it with different awards and that sort of thing, but, quite often a farm will focus on one or two little aspects of their farm. They've done a riparian planting, or they've done this. With this approach, effectively we've kind of got 12 leaders that can handle 2 projects each. So we can almost put 24 projects onto our farm. And so when I talk about the heritage orchard, or we talk about the plastic audit, or the riparian plantings, or the pest thing, it sounds like a lot and overwhelming. Why the hell would I want to do it? I don't. I just sit back and I just watch it all happen. Like it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
And, no, it's great, and it's not about it's not about getting things for free. By no way has it been free. It's it's just about just doing something cool. And enjoying it. Yeah.
And also, dude, like giving people the opportunity to contribute. Like everyone wants to contribute, really, but a lot of people just don't have access to contributing to a community or access to contributing to society. You give them access, like we said in our discussion earlier, all of a sudden you get the option or the opportunity to give. I've got the opportunity to give. For them, it'll be more, fulfilling than what possibly we realize.
Oh, and I love it. You see, they sit down at their first meeting or whatever, and they've had this burden on their hearts for so long, or on their minds, and they're able to share it. And that look on their face when, as a farmer, you sit there and say, "I'm hearing you. Share it. Keep going. I want to hear more. How can we fix this? And they're like, holy shit, someone's listening to me. I've been thinking of this for like 20 years sometimes, and all of a sudden someone's listening, and I'm just like, right, like how are we going to fix it? I can't fix it. Like I don't have the answers, but hey, I'm here. If you want to work on this and we want to do it together, then sure, let's do it. But that connection, and from a industry point of view, like a farming industry, we need to do far more of that. We need to listen to what people's concerns are, and work out how we're gonna improve it. So it's not how we're going to improve. It's how we're going to listen to what they've got to say and what we need to do about it. So it's not necessarily about making change. It's just hearing what people got to say and taking that in. Yeah.
Dude, the difference between just being heard and not, like, I was the boy that grew up, no one listened, and then I thought no one understood, and then so I made sure no one understood by keeping myself at distance from people, really withdrawing myself from people, and then I got to be right about people not understanding, because of course they didn't understand, because I made sure they didn't understand. And so giving people that space just to speak, but not just to speak, but to really be heard. Sometimes that's all that people need, just to be heard. Like really everyone just wants to be heard. And when you get to that point, it's like all of a sudden for that person, it's like, wow, okay, now what do we do? You know? Do we act on this? Do we progress with this? Do I just forget about that? That might be the case sometimes.
Yep. Yeah. No, exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. Yeah.
And I love what you said earlier, Wayne. When you were talking about I can't remember the woman. Forgive me. Her name, but when you said she was she won the Share Milker of the Year award.
Oh, Siobhan, yeah.
Siobhan, yeah. And you said to me, you opened with, she won the Share Milker of the Year award, and you said it so perfectly, and I really wanted to come back to this because it really stuck with me. Was like, but actually, really, she's just a beautiful human being that's really, skilled and committed, and I'm just like, that to me speaks more than any accolade. Like, what are those awards anyway, really?
Yeah. And it's certainly something I've noticed as I've moved up the chain at Federated Farmers, or when you're in terms of even in your governance career and whatnot, you move up the chain thinking that these people are so much different or better than yourself or something like that, and when you get there, you realise that no, they're just your equivalent, and or whatever, and they're just human, at the end of the day, and so the more you treat people like humans, then the better off you are. Yeah. So yeah,
that's right, man. We're not directors. We're not managers. We're not. We're just people.
Yes. Yeah. So no. So and I guess what's interesting about that is once you have that view or vision, as long as you're respectful about the way in which you do it, but it changes the way in which you have a conversation with someone as well. Like if you can talk to a politician or someone higher above you as such with like they're a human, and that and that you're a human too, then instantly that connection is so much better, and you're coming from the same place. Yeah.
I'm reminded of a saying within a poem where it's like, if you can.
So I've enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Cool, man. Wayne, if people want to follow your journey, and you can speak to whichever entity you like, because I know there's a few. How do people support and follow you with what you're up to and your various cool groups and things? Yeah.
Okay. So I've got the YOLO Farmer platform on which is mainly on Facebook. It's on Insta and Twitter and whatnot. It's on social in general. So just at YOLO Farmer NZ. And then the charity we've just launched. You can either go to the website meettheneed.org. That's meet with a MEAT. Or again, we're all over social and quickly growing on there as well. So encourage people to get involved because. Again, it's about a journey for us and taking people along with us. While we've created the mechanism, as we've just discussed for the last hour, it's about everyone else, bringing in what they've got to give, and that's how the whole thing will be a success. So that's how I try to share the journey. Yeah.
Cool, man. I'm right here with you.
Yeah.
All right, Wayne. Hey, thanks so much for your time this morning. I better let you get back to your family. But I really appreciate your wise words of wisdom, and again, just another great big pat on the back, virtual pat on the back for what you're doing, and I can only sit back and enjoy watching you grow and develop.
Oh, cheers, man. And I was worried that my lockdown here was getting long, but you've really shown me up this morning.
Yeah, man, check it out.
Yeah. I gave up on that scratchy thing ages ago. Yeah. So no, all good. Thanks, Jono.
Cool, man. Cheers.